you don't need to lose everything to find peace. And I know when you're in a situation where just the business feels too much, it's maybe an intense pressure, something you maybe feel in your heart or in your mind, and just this glorification of burning it all down, being free, just starts to emerge for you. And I want to validate that that's really difficult to deal with. Honestly, it is. You know, building something that you may have spent half a decade, maybe even a decade on, and getting there and it not feeling fulfilling and freeing is really, really hard. Really, it is. And I'm going to present a solution here, because I think I have one. But I also want to just share a little bit what it does look like to burn it all down, because I'm fortunate to have a dear friend of mine who did that. He was working in consulting. He was very high level. He was doing at least 7 figures, but it was so much. And he just left. He was just done. So burnt out. It was like, all right, I gotta go. I gotta do something. And that's brave. That is super brave. And his path, his story has been amazing. But he's the first one to tell you that it was not sunshine and roses, because he gained internal freedom, right? He went from just feeling so trapped internally. He felt, oh, finally free. He got that. But as things went on, because he did actually burn it down, he lost his external freedom. He lost the resources that helped him do whatever he wanted, that helped him live wherever he wanted, to the point where he was incredibly trapped financially for a little bit of time. And it was really challenging for him, and not easy at all, not something to glorify, something that was really, really, he had to be really robust to get through it. And this isn't a fear story. I'm not trying to instill fear, be brave, be bold, but I think there's a better solution, an integrated solution. And for him, when we spoke, it was like, I'm happy with what I did because it led to what I became, and he had an amazing story. But I wouldn't do it again, because there's a way better way of doing it. I didn't need to burn it all down. I didn't need to destroy, what I had built and go through this. I could have done it in a much easier way, right? I could have had both real external freedom and real internal freedom, which is what he has now. But that only comes, and the solution here is we have to realize that the pressure, that the stress, that the things that we think that business is doing to us are our own. And it's scary to admit that, but it's also the most freeing, and it's the only way forward. That pressure is not because of the business. You probably felt experiences in your life where the business was not creating pressure, was not creating burnout. And yet now it does. So we can blame the business all we want, but we can take it a step further. We can see that the business is just a trigger. It triggers a symptom. The symptom is burnout, stress, real lack of meaning or purpose or fulfillment, whatever it may be. But if we stay here, we're just going to get stuck. We're going to have to burn it down, move on to the next thing. And that's not the best way of doing it. We can take it a little bit further to what I like to see as the internal architecture, internal map. And this is, what is it about the trigger that's generating the symptoms? What is it about the business that's making me feel stressed, burnt out, tons of pressure? And this is where we get a much more interesting answer, because we're not blaming the business anymore. We're just getting curious here. And I'm not going to tell you what your answer is, because I can't. Right? You're a unique human with different stories and ideas and different maps of the world. Yet, when I've gone through this in the past with different clients, different things may emerge. For one client, there was this real criticalness that he had to be perfect, that any mistake just ripped him to the heart. It made him feel like he was the worst person. And he carried so much guilt. And there was this story, just, I need to be perfect. I can't make mistakes. Or I am bad. I am not a good person. And he didn't realize that was a story of his. He just thought the business was making him feel trapped and really tense and a ton of pressure, until we found this story. And when we found the story, it's like, oh, well, that makes sense. His body wasn't doing anything wrong. It's just, if anyone was living in that story, they'd also be super stressed out. They'd also generate an absolute ton of pressure. And they'd also probably be kind of miserable. Pardon me. So it makes sense. That was just the map that was creating the problems to begin with. So what do we do now? Well, we find a map. Well, my favorite word is still internal architecture. I really like that word. And then we can take it to the next level. When did he start generating the map? And it was pretty young, with a parent who was very critical and quite harsh. So for him to be okay in that house, he had to be perfect. He couldn't make mistakes. He was bringing that with him. And so we noticed that, and this is what we call an introject, a false truth, something we took from the outside but isn't ours. So I just invited him to give that back to the parent. And when he did that, giving back the meaning, the stories, the feelings, everything that came with it, just what emerged was a real freedom, an internal freedom, and an okayness with him as he is. And the okayness, it sounds like a little trivial word. It was like the biggest liberation it could have been. If he's just okay as he is, oh, not bad. He doesn't need to be perfect. He can't not make mistakes. He's just okay as he is. Oof. Oof. What a relief, man. What a relief. And it was wonderful to see, honestly. And when it happened for him, you just saw his whole body just relax. I'm just okay as I am. Like at a level where he had spent 3 decades feeling that he wasn't, feeling that he was wrong, feeling that something was bad within him. And he had to be perfect and mistake-free all day, every day. Now he was just okay as he was. So we nurtured that, we deepened that, we grew that to a point where it was so robust. It was just the normal operating system internally. And from this place, you can imagine what happened to the business. The business just became a business. Something that's great is getting beautiful, like real resources, real external freedom from. But he doesn't feel like he has to be perfect for it. He doesn't feel like he can't make mistakes. He doesn't have to show up to, make his calendar available for every single person that wants it. Be on Slack 24/7. He just got to be free and run his business from that place. And what's amazing is, so we start from that level of the internal map, we grow it there, and we just notice all the difference that happened to the trigger and the symptom, right? They just dissolve, they just go away. But so many changes happen. And so for him, it was a real noticing that, I can even have real boundaries in my business. I'm not making myself available for meetings all day. Or this is my business. I'm not on Slack all day. And he really started to be able to create boundaries. And then he found he was doing much more deep work. He was actually moving the company forward instead of just being in reactive mode, responding to everyone all day. And he also noticed in his relationship, it wasn't a stress anymore. He felt good as he was. Didn't feel the need to overcompensate. He wasn't getting in arguments with his partner. He could sleep well and wake up with energy. He didn't need to down 10 flat whites a day to keep going. He wasn't being drained every moment trying to be perfect, trying to be mistake-free. He got to live with that real refreshing okayness, with that freedom internally. And yet he was able to still have a thriving business, in many ways a business that was able to do better from this place. A wonderful relationship. And he still made external changes, but it was in line with this, instead of trying to avoid what was happening inside. And this is the difference between working with even beliefs, trying to change your mindset, trying to think positively, to just removing what's not ours to begin with. Just liberating ourselves, like, I'm not taking your stuff on anymore. I'm going to be free. And I'm going to build from this place. And the business is no longer about me being a good person. It's no longer about me proving something to someone. The business is just mine. It's just a great way for me to make money and work with wonderful people. That's it. Not tied to all of these stories which just destroy us from the inside out. So I've rambled on a little bit now, but I want to make an invitation. If it's resonated with you, if you feel like I'm speaking directly to you because this is something you're going through, and you want to take the next step in actually liberating yourself, becoming fully free, externally and internally, then I would invite you to go into the description, into the top comment, and use the Calendly link set up a call for us. I have a little bit of time on my calendar. And we're going to talk about what the next steps can look like together. If you're not ready for that right now, that's totally okay. I'd recommend checking out the podcast I have with a dear friend of mine, and checking out the other videos and subscribing. And Rinan, if you have any questions, just put them in the comments down below. I really appreciate you being here. You giving me your time. And I hope it was worth it. And I look forward to connecting soon.